singular focus. What do I mean by singular focus? It means this, that it's amazing to me the number of churches that I go to that I'll show up at a rehearsal and I'll come in to see your band, hear you guys sing, play whatever else, and I'm like, where's the sound guy? He doesn't come. What do you mean he doesn't come? Like to rehearsal? No, he's not here. He doesn't come till Sunday. I'm like, oh really? That's interesting. So you guys practice, you rehearse, and then I'll ask other questions like, so do you give your packets, your music packets, or the songs you're doing, does the tech have anything? Do they have any idea what it is that you're doing this Sunday? No, they're going to figure it out on Sunday morning. We'll let them know. So it doesn't work real well. One of the things that we can do is just realize this. Number one, that we are one team, and that is the sound, the singers, the band, everybody, and that includes all of your people, whether you're doing Pro Presenter or Media Shout or Easy Worship or whatever you're using. You are one team. And as one team, you really need to look at it. You have the same things. You need to all be present, all be involved, all be a part of this whole thing that we want to do. I know that the goal is to present seamless worship every week. And we want the sound to be smooth. We want everything to go well. But you can't do that if everybody's not there. You're going to miss out on the fellowship and all that. I know that it's really important to stay engaged. I know there's nothing more boring if I'm a sound tech or I'm running board to listen maybe to a rehearsal that's going on. But I will tell you this, if I don't know it, I can't know what I'm going to mix on Sunday, and I need to be there. I also need to test, make sure things work, have a better feel. I'm going to feel more secure coming in on Sunday if I can do that. So if you're a worship pastor here or you're a worship leader, I want to make sure that you include your techs. Make sure they're a part of the team all the time there. If you guys pray together, you know, this is what I get when I'm running sound. All right, let's pray together. And you see my back the whole time. And forget to go, hey, you guys, tech team, come join with us. We're going to spend some time. We're going to pray together. We're going to talk about what's going on. Bring everybody up to date. It's one team. Worship, sound, tech, musicians, all present, all included, all engaged. I know that you guys, I hope that you take on the mantra that you're here to serve, because that's what it is. And not only are we here to serve God and what we do with the skills and abilities He's given us, but to serve one another as well. That's what it's really all about, because a team, obviously together each achieves more. There's a whole bunch of things I could talk about that, but it's really important that we serve one another. Also, that you can create a sense of excellence. Some of the things I know I want to do with my worship team, my singers, we're trying to get certain phrasing down. We want to all be in harmony. We want to sing on pitch. All those things. To create that spirit of excellence has to go all the way through the whole team. You're only as good, whoever's mixing, you're only as good as whoever's playing that chord to make sure that the guitar player is not clashing with the keyboardist. Oh yeah, and that the alto is not clashing with the tenor, or that we are all singing the same melody when we learn a new song and not deciding to have a whole bunch of them. All those kinds of things are really crucial and really important.
This is what happens when you don't rehearse.
Yeah, look at that, Mike. Where'd you get that slide from? Oh, there we go. All right, good. Second one. So that's the number one was obviously singular focus. Second one on the E. Here we go. Everything counts. This is really key. The right gear in the right place. What do I mean by that? I get the chance to go into your church and to look at all the stuff that you have bought or accumulated over the years. Maybe you walked into your church and you're brand new there and you're like, what do we have here? What is my last sound person or my last worship leader purchased at Sweetwater and left me such a great gift? And maybe we think, oh, this can't be any good, or we have no idea what it is. Let me just say this, that you have a lot of great assets that are already at your church. And a lot of times I'll be going, go back and just take a look at what you have, and I'm like, holy smokes, man, this is like a $1,000 microphone. What are you doing with it sitting in the closet? You should be on your best singer. Or you have direct boxes, and maybe you have some really nice active ones, some passive ones, and you're putting the best direct box, on the V-drum output. I'm like, come on, what about your acoustic guitar player? You could make your guitar sound so much better just by putting the right box on it. I've got a great singer, but I want to make sure the right microphone is on the right source. Really key. Make sure you just use the right gear in the right place. Your mics, your direct box, all that kind of stuff. And it really has to do with your setup. Just how do I set things up, and do I think it through and really make sure that I'm there. Understand another thing, and that is the acoustics of your room. Do you know that if I set up the drums in the corner of my stage or in the center of the stage, it's going to change the sound of what happens in the room? Just where I place it. Just think about it. Before I ever turn the sound system on, think about your stage setup. think, how can I improve how I'm doing it, or how can we gel together as a team? All those kinds of things are important. I want to make sure my bass player, if I have a band, is next to the drummer. If we're going to lock together and get a groove, I can't be on the other side of the stage or not hearing what's going on. A lot of that is just setting up kind of where things are. Make sure that you have the right tools and all that. Let me mention this too. You'll notice down the bottom I put Worship Sound Pro. You guys have a magazine in front of you called Worship Sound Pro that Mike Ross has done an amazing job since he's been here at Sweetwater, kind of hailing the flag of really making sure that worship is good. Inside every magazine is a whole bunch of free tools. There's free guides, how to buy the right microphone, what to use on my direct box. Online at sweetwater.com, you can go on there, and there are tons that they have published in not only every Worship Sound Pro, but also other articles. There's so many things that you can have, free resources, don't cost you a cent, that you can go, man, do I have something good? Maybe I don't even know what it is. Call your Sweetwater sales engineer, give me a call. Either way, any of us, let us help you understand what you have, because using the right gear in the right place is really key. So everything that you have obviously counts. You know the old phrase, right? Everything affects everything. Nothing could be more true in church, isn't that right? Because if one thing goes wrong, the whole service can feel like it's just not right. Or if somebody misses a cue, or we miss a slide, or whatever else, we don't want to distract from the singular thing that we're here to do, and that is to give glory to God through all that we do. Okay? So singular focus. Second, everything counts. I took a picture of you guys' worship team. Thought I'd bring it here, get a few things. Anyways, let me just talk about this. Just where location, setup. This is kind of looking down. Where your drums are, using a shield. Think through those things. How's your band going? I just have a couple diagrams. Do another one like whatever we have there. What does it look like from this way out? Are you using Avions? There's different questions that you can have. How's it doing with your band? And I think I have one more. I'm not sure. This was my especially attractive one with the keyboard player. Exactly. Yeah, really nice. Anyway, so think about your setup. That'd be good. Number 3, next one on our list here. That is reset the system. What do I mean by that? Do I mean that you hit a reset button and everything goes back to zero? No. Here's what I mean, is that everybody assumes, oh, worship was great last week. If I could just put a little piece of tape on every one of my mixer knobs and put it there next week, it'll be perfect. Exactly? I don't know. It won't be. It's impossible. You have different people come in. If you rotate your teams, if your guitar player decides to bring his new guitar this Sunday and try it out on you, guess what? Everything's different. The gain structure, the EQ, the sound, all that kind of stuff. But you can eliminate a lot of issues just by doing this. If you can make sure that you or your sound tech get there before anyone else is there, turn on the system and take your favorite CD, do a simple thing. Turn the system on, pan left, pan right. Just make sure all the speakers are working. And then turn it off the mains, and then bring up the monitors and make sure monitor 1. Gee, do I hear sound coming out of monitor 1? Oh, the next mix, if I have a mix, is it coming through the ears? A basic thing by just simply turning that on and listening to the system to make sure it works Sunday before you have everybody else show up, plug in, and then my singer's up there and he's going, I don't hear anything out of monitor mix 1. I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself. Well, I'm turning it up. I'm turning it up. And the speaker's not even plugged in, I mean, this is basic, okay? But I'm telling you, does it happen? We know it. And it always happens on the worst Sunday that, man, the song that went perfectly on Thursday, it's a nightmare. I don't know why. It's just not gelling together. Something's happening. And just by doing this, hit the reset button on Sunday morning. Take 5 minutes just to turn everything up. Make sure it's working. Everything's on. Interesting, before we go on, I called my sound tech. I have a rotating sound tech team at my church, all volunteers, none of them are paid. There's 4 guys that kind of rotate. And I asked him, I said, I get an opportunity to speak to pastors, worship leaders, and techs tomorrow. What would you tell me to address to them? He said, simple. Keep it simple. Very, very easy. He said, sometimes I get so into my tech world that I really want to make things difficult. Keep it simple. Remember the basics. And this is one of the most basic things ever. In our satellite campus, we have one that sets up at a high school in another area. And if they don't do this, if they don't just turn the system on, turn a CD on, pan left, pan right, turn up the monitors, make sure all the monitor mixes, they can have a terrible service just because somebody didn't take 2 seconds to turn this on. Remember, number 3 is reset the system. All right, moving right along. Number 4, validate everyone. How can you validate everybody on your team? It's really easy, by doing a sound check. The number of churches that I go to that never do a sound check amaze me. Let's see, we rehearse we spend time with our music. We learn all these great songs. We come prepared with our message. We do all these things, but we never stop to take time to do a sound check. A real sound check. It's not a lot of time. Here's what I call it, the 15-minute challenge. If you took the time that you show up for rehearsal right now in your church, if you come every Sunday at 8:30 or 6 a.m. or whatever time you get there, 10:15, if you move that time back 15 minutes, move your rehearsal time back 15 minutes, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that 15 minutes to get everyone plugged in, to make sure you listen to one instrument at a time, make sure it sounds right, everything's working. It doesn't take that long. But how do you know if the kick drum works unless everybody just shows up, they all plug in? It's like, yeah, it's on. You're turning all the things on, the whole thing's on, and you're never able to isolate anything to really hear it. It's really important. Sound check is absolutely crucial. The other thing that I find as I walk in and out of churches and I go across the country talking with people is everybody does this backwards. As a musician, as a singer myself, the first thing I want to hear is my monitor wedge. But it messes up the gain structure in the whole system if I do monitors first. You have to do mains first, monitors second. And the reason why is I've got to get the balance in the house. You know, there's 200 of you, there's one of me. 200 to 1 ratio. I want mine to sound really good. I don't care about you, okay? Sorry. Something's wrong with that when we go about it backwards. We have to be patient. As singers and musicians, you have to be patient, and we have to then do a real sound check, sing at a real level, not a real soft one, and then when worship comes, you're really loud and singing. You have to do performance levels. Make sure mains first, monitors second. Really key so that we do that. The other thing is that when you're doing sound check, it's important that you're all there, that you're listening, because I really don't know what that nice little guitar riff is if I'm singing. I'm only thinking about singing my alto part. But if I'm there during sound check, I have to listen to him and go, oh, so that's what that guy does back there in those drums. I never knew he played like that. Oh, that's what that drum sounds like, the snare. You actually learn the art of listening to one another. What makes a great worship team is one that listens to each other, plays together, plays off each other. And one of the ways you learn that is by a basic thing called a sound check. So I'm challenging you. It doesn't cost you 1 cent. Take the 15-minute challenge. Get your team there 15 minutes earlier than you're doing right now and do a real sound check, one instrument at a time. Get them in, make sure that we can hear everything. We know it works, we know it's in. That way when you do your first song, you guys kick things off. Man, all of a sudden, you'll know what everything sounds like because you've already identified it. And you know if your bass guitar player was practicing at home and his EQ sounded great in his amp in his bedroom, it sounds horrible when you plug into the main sound system. What's different? You're not coming through an amp. Now you're coming through a big PA. The sound person needs to hear that and then adjust the EQ on that before you bring everybody else in. Really important points, but really key to do it. Listen, test every mic, every instrument. Don't assume things don't work. This is another one, is that pastors come in sometimes and they never ever get their mic tested. They have no idea what it's like. Things change. Maybe you had a wedding, maybe you had a funeral, maybe something happened, maybe there was a different sound person last week. Things can change. If you have a digital board, it's possible that they completely reconfigured the board, changed the setup from where it was last week, and things are different. You need to make sure. Does the mic fit well? You know, or is it way out here and then nobody hears me and then I'm trying to fiddle with my earpiece or my lapel is down or I'm getting feedback? It's basic things, but one, make sure the mic is on. And if you're a tech here or you're responsible to make sure your pastor's mic is good, it's secure. The last thing I want my pastor to do is to be worrying about what his microphone is doing or if it's falling off his ear. Nothing can be more distracting. I want to serve them in that. I also want to make sure that they come in and are actually able to talk, just share a little bit before the service. Just say a few words, make sure it's in the house, sounds natural. All is good is real key. Here's another one, little sound tip for all you sound techs here. HPF, all right? High pass filter. On your mixer, there's a little, if you go up your little fader channel, there's a little line and then it has a cut on it like this. Really interesting. That little cut, and it usually has a number next to it, like 100 or 80 or something like that. That actually is a little button that helps you get rid of low frequencies that are unneeded. Okay, if I'm a singer, for instance, I'm going to show you a little keyboard chart here. I think it's next, Mike. We have that. Oh yeah, that's my favorite slide here. Okay, so if you look at kind of the range of where your singers are, here's your soprano here, all the way down to your bass. You look at your piano keyboard on the bottom. You'll notice that everything that's happening in the vocal range and what's going on in even an orchestra or whatever else, the human voice is all in that mid-range. Well, everything that you push the little button, the high-pass filter does, it cuts off all this lower stuff. You're never going to sing down here. One of the things that makes microphones sound so muddy or so yucky is you just have all this puh. If you have pee-pops, you have handling noise from your microphones, all kinds of things, just because we don't use the high-pass filter. It's a great little button. It's on your mixer. If you have a digital one, it has a little one that it'll light up when you push it. It's a wonderful thing because it gets rid of all of those frequencies that you're never going to use. Also, if you don't have one of these, you should understand the frequency range that all of your voices or all of your instruments are in there, so you know which ones to use it on. For instance, I wouldn't use the high-pass filter on a piano, of course, because when he plays low, I want to make sure, or she plays low, I want to get that full range of sound. Bass guitar, I wouldn't use it, right? Of course not. I want all those bass frequencies. But look at if I'm playing flute or violin, I want to get all of those low frequencies out of there. It's a way for you to clean up your system and make sure you understand frequency. Understanding what you're listening to is really key, and that's why sound check is important and kind of getting to know your mixer a little bit better and even understand this. See all these little numbers under here? On orchestra tunes to the note A, which is in the middle of your keyboard, has a number 440. A440. As you get into your mixer and you look at all those knobs and all of them, they have numbers next to them. It's not rocket science. The lower the number, the lower the sound or the tone that we hear. The higher the number, the higher the tone. Understand what makes sound work, and then how to clean up your mix. So you have the more people you have on your worship team, the more difficult it will be to get clean sound. You're just adding more. I call it the pie principle. You have one piece of pie. If you have 4 people playing, they have big, huge pieces. They can jam, have a great time. They're not going to crowd each other. As the team gets bigger, guess what? The pieces get smaller. And it's still one piece of pie, but you have to prioritize who does what and where it's at. Okay? So make sure sound check really helps you do that. Understand frequency as well. Let's go on. Okay, number 5. I think this is it. Yeah, evaluate. The very last thing. Last thing we can do is actually listen to what's going on. Really, really important. I'll say this for you sound techs. Get out of the booth. Worship leaders, I'm going to say this to you. Get off the stage. This is what I mean. During sound check and during rehearsal, if you're always here, you never really know what anybody else experiences. One of the most powerful things I can do when I'm leading worship is get off the stage, stand out here, listen to the team. They're all singing and playing. I'm walking around. I'm getting a feel for what this guy is hearing right here. I know what he's hearing because I'm out where he's at. Really important to do to make sure you're out. Get out of the booth. Don't stay locked behind there. There's all kinds of cool apps now with different mixers and stuff. You can actually have it on your iPad, control your sound. There's all kinds of great things. But regardless, this doesn't cost you anything. Just move. Just once you get things set, kind of get things where you feel like you got a good mix, get out of the booth if you're the tech. Walk around. If you're the worship leader, walk out. Get a feel in the congregation for what it sounds like so that you can know. Next thing is, are you recording your worship part? And this is what I mean. Not recording to break copyright laws of that. I'm saying recording for your rehearsal. When's the last time you heard you and what you did last Sunday? All right? Most of us are recording the message, right? Everybody recording the message? Anybody, yeah? Pastor's sermon? Get that, put it online. You're glad to record him. When's the last time you recorded you and your band? Are you afraid of it? Maybe, okay? Here's what it is, and you have to really take it with a grain of salt. Make sure you do it. And sometimes you can get a great board mix, depending on how you have your auxes set up, or if you're taking left-right mix. You can grab a little Zoom recorder, those little guys, $100, set it out in the middle of the platform, or sit it out in the middle of the sanctuary, and just record what everybody else is hearing. Sit it on the front of the sound booth. Anything like that. It just helps you get a perspective so you kind of know what's going on. Really, really important to be able to really just get a sense of that. Same thing with video. If you're videotaping, if you're not, bring in a little camcorder. What do we look like? Do we sound? Is the part of the reason we don't sound as good is we kind of look like we just ate sour grapes? Two weeks ago, I was gone. I was actually at my daughter's wedding in Chicago. I was away, and I had one of my other worship leaders was leading. Fantastic. The band. I got back. I actually heard the CD. I popped in the DVD. I was watching the whole thing, and I couldn't believe it because what I heard was amazing. The team was just great. What I saw was I had 6 singers on, and like I thought they had just eaten a grapefruit. I was what? If you have the joy of the Lord in your heart, inform your face, please, There was no energy happening at all. It was going nowhere, and I'm wondering, why aren't people more engaged in worship? Well, how do we look? How do we come across? What are we projecting? Sorry, it's all important. And we know that if we're singing, if our whole goal, sound, video, lights, everything that goes on, the whole goal, all the message, everything is to bring attention to God, is to point people to Him, to lead people into the presence of God. That's what our calling is to do. And yet all of these things can be incredible distractions, but we won't know what they are unless we at least take time to evaluate and really listen to what's going on. All right? Make sense? Now, I have one more before we go on. I want to wreck your life today, okay? I have come to ruin your life. Do you enjoy listening to music? And most of you would say, yeah, I like music, and if I go to each of your cars, you got something different. I want you to stop listening to music. I want you to start listening to mixes. This is what I mean. I don't care if it's jazz, rock, reggae, hip-hop, country. I don't care what you're listening to. Tell me what's in the mix. Is there 2 guitars? Is there electric guitar? Is there a saxophone? Is there 3 singers? Is there a harmony vocal? Is there an acoustic guitar? One guy singing lead, one guy singing harmony. What's in the mix? If you start listening to mixes and not just music, you'll start listening and training your ear so that when you're participating in your worship team and you're leading worship, you'll all of a sudden start listening better. You'll start playing off each other. You'll start responding completely different by listening to mixes. So don't listen to music. Stop. Start listening to mixes. Every Sunday in your church, you are mixing a CD. And guess what? There's your audience who just bought it, whether they wanted to or not. All right? If you want to improve your sound mix and what's going on, do a sound check. Take the 15-minute challenge and do it. Secondly, make sure you listen. Listen to mixes. When you're listening to your favorite music, I was driving down last night, coming through, and I had, I was kind of catching up. I was listening to 33 Miles because I heard some of their stuff, but I really wanted to get in and really get in the zone so I can enjoy today. Wow, great musicians. The singer, wow, wow, just amazing. But I had a couple CDs, so I was throwing theirs was fantastic. I happened to listen to one. I pulled another one out I hadn't listened to in a long time. David Foster, who plays keyboards, had a whole bunch of different artists in. I was listening to all the different artists. He had a whole orchestra playing, and the dynamic range of what was happening on that mix was really cool. Just really amazing. I was trying to figure out how many instruments he had on every one, how much reverb was on the vocals, how long the tail was. I was trying to analyze all the mixes. It was actually just inspiring. Not only was I enjoying the music, but I was so enjoying the mixes. And Mike will tell you that you go down to Nashville, if you're down there with some of the artists, like the guys at 33 Miles, the guys who mix those CDs and spend their time refining that, dialing the sound, it's just amazing. And the fact that we can just pop on the radio or throw in a disc or whatever else, or pop it on your iTunes and hear it, you get the opportunity to learn from the greatest by just listening to what they're doing. You can do it. It's not rocket science. I'm here to tell you, you can make better sound this week at your church. But stop listening to music. Listen to mixes. And take the 15-minute challenge. I want you to do it. I know you're here because you want to give your best. Nowhere in Scripture do I see, give up what's convenient to the master. Oh, by the way, I'll get there when I can, right? No, he says, give of your best to the master. I don't care if you're mixing, if you're playing an instrument, if you're singing, get your head in the game. I loved what he just shared a few minutes ago. Jason was in when he was talking about 33 miles. We have one chance to live, one opportunity. We get the opportunity as worship leaders, as pastors, as musicians, as techs, to 52 weeks a year to be able to serve and to present something for our congregation to connect with God. To be able to do that. It's an awesome responsibility, and I applaud you all for doing that, for taking it on. And I would also challenge you to say, let's give our best as we do it. A couple personal notes, and then I'll wrap up here. That's it. Senior pastors, if you're here, I want to address you and worship pastors. One, a little thank you, encouragement goes a long ways. If my senior pastor comes and says something, it means so much to our team. And it can be a 2-minute thing before the service or a couple minutes or dropping in. I'd say, when's the last time your pastor maybe dropped in by a rehearsal, just randomly one night? One of my favorite times when I'm rehearsing with the band or something else, if our senior pastor just drops in on us and just comes in and just sits down for a few minutes, maybe comes up and just prays for us and just says, hey, it goes so far, such a long, long way, for sure. Your opinion and feedback matter. Let me also say that within your team, we all get different compliments, different people in our church that say things. They might like worship, they might not, you get the whole gamut of things. But I know that if someone in my team was really moved by something that happened in worship and they said something to me after church, that went a long ways. Because we're one. We're a team. We've rehearsed together. We've spent time together. We've prayed together. And they're encouraging, and we encourage one another. And certainly we know that the greatest compliment for any of our techs, for sure, is to never be noticed. The greatest compliment for a worship tech is to never be noticed. Things are so seamless, it's so clean, it never happens. But guess what? That means anybody on this side of the platform, guess what we need to do? We need to honor, esteem, encourage, thank all of our techs for what they're doing. They're usually the first and last guys and gals. They're the ones who are busting their tail in and out when we're singing, trying to do our best. We're all one team. Support one another, encourage one another. Our emotions, your preparation, all of that affect how you sound. If I'm tired, if I'm worn out, if I'm not in the game, if I'm not in the zone, I can tell you my vocals aren't going to be that great. I'm not going to sound as good as I can. I'm not going to give my tech the kind of signal he has that he can really make things sound good. He's got to have me at full performance, at peak performance when I'm leading in worship. Did you sense the energy that was coming from these guys? I mean, the sound wasn't loud, it was nice, it was just, but the energy of every consonant, every vowel, every phrase, I mean, man, it just, wow, I was rocked by what they did. It was amazing. That's the kind of passion and energy all of us need to put into everything that we do when it comes to this. So remember, obviously, it's about worship. And what is worship? It's giving worth to God. Showing worth to God. Give glory to His name. Worship God in the splendor of His holiness. That's what it's about. It's not about music. Really? I mean, we love music. It's a tool that God uses, but ultimately, it's about worship. So, let's review the 5 things, and we're going to wrap up. So go back to number 2 if you can, Mike, and we'll just say it. So the SERVE, the acronym is slide 2. That's right. Sorry, I forgot to copy that one. Number 3. There you go. 4. I knew it was that one. Thank you. So that's it. The 5 things. Singular focus. Everything counts. Reset every Sunday. Validate your musicians by doing a good sound check and evaluate what you did. All right? So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back to Mike. Anything else for the thing? Thanks so much for coming. God bless you if we can help you in any way. Have a great day. Have a great Sunday.